the song ministration. We are most grateful. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Men's Week celebrations. Today is our first day, and today we'll be looking at a very important topic, which is non-communicable diseases, causes, and prevention. And we are privileged to have as our speaker Reverend Dr. Romeo Agyapong. Shall we put our hands up? I would, to help us get a better understanding or knowledge of him, I would read something small about him to help us. So, Reverend Dr. Romeo Agyapong is an orthopedic consultant at 37 Military Hospital. He had his medical training at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, in medical sciences in the year 1989 to 1995. Thereafter, he worked at Konfanoche Teaching Hospital for a number of years and then transferred to 37 Military Hospital in 1997. In pursuit of more professional education and expertise, he went to Munich, Germany, to be trained as a general surgeon and trauma and orthopedic surgeon in 2003 and returned to Ghana in the year 2020. The year 2010. He holds a master's degree in pastoral care and counseling from the Trinity Theological Seminary, Legon. And he gave his life to Jesus in August 1979 and has since been serving God and the church. He currently serves as a pastor, and that's where most of us connect strongly with him. And he's happily married to Madam Betty, and they have been married for 28 years and are blessed with 3 adult children. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. Shall we welcome our speaker, Reverend Dr. Romeo Agyapong. Thank you, sir. Thank
you. Hallelujah. Please take your seat. So you can just put it up. Yeah, we're going to talk on a very important topic, health, to each and every one of us. Everybody, one way or the other, have to have good health. Otherwise, you will not be able to do what you want to do. I just want us to read a verse in 3 John 1:2. 3 John 1:2. 3 John 1:2. It says that, beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. God has blessed us with his message, and we have accepted Jesus Christ as our personal Lord and Savior, and we are preparing our souls and our spirit for heaven. But the Apostle John is saying that he also wished above all things that you prosper also in health. So long as your spirit and your soul reside in this body needs to be healthy. Otherwise, your soul and your spirit will not enjoy themselves. They will vacate this body and then go to wherever they came from. And for that reason, we want to start with our topic, non-communicable diseases. If you put it in the initials is NCD, non-communicable diseases. This one, actually, I can use the name doctor, but I have chosen to use only one doctor. Yeah. So, for all the credentials, that these are the things that Paul says that all these things I count as behind me because Christ has laid hold of me. Amen. And so non-communicable diseases is very important. And why should we learn about it? You can go to the next slide for me. It's important because of its effect in the world. If you go to the developed countries, what is so common here, malaria, typhoid, and those things, it's not very common there. But they are challenged with these non-communicable diseases, and we'll get to know it very soon. And we also know why is non-communicable disease becoming so common these days in the third world country or the middle income countries. We will know some of the things. So non-communicable diseases are a major health concern the world over, globally. Every country is thinking about what to do with non-communicable diseases. And WHO puts the death that occurred worldwide, all the death, that if you list all the diseases that take people to their grave, 70% of death in the world is as a result of non-communicable diseases. And in Ghana, as at 2022, we have come across that in Ghana, it is on the increase, and it's about 43 to 45% of the death of our population. And so I have that small, what do you call it, diagram or there, showing that it is gradually on ascendancy. And if you don't address it well, we also fall victim and have it. The next slide, please. There are challenges to these ones, and basically there are about three. You see, when population increases, we require to have a lot of hospitals or health centers to take care of the population. Unfortunately, as population rises, there's no commensurate or the proportional increase in health facilities, and that becomes a challenge for us. The other one is urbanization. In the rural areas, their lifestyle is quite monotonous or simple. But the more urbanization affects a particular village or society, the more things change for the people in that society. And then urbanization comes with lifestyle changes. We tend to have certain form of lifestyle. Even in the rural areas, the food they eat begins to change. And these are all lifestyle things that bring about non-communicable diseases. The next slide. Basically, what is the definition of non-communicable diseases? They are diseases that one would say that is not transmitted to anybody. So if it's not transmitted, then it means that you are going for it, or you are allowing it to come into your body. If we want to, let's take malaria for example. If a mosquito begins to hover here and one of us has the malaria parasite in the body, the mosquito will bite the person, pick the parasite, and begin to bite each and every one of us by spreading it. So in that case, the mosquito is a culprit of spreading the disease. But in this particular one, there's no spread. So it doesn't, if I have hypertension, I don't transmit hypertension to you. Or if I have diabetes, I don't transmit diabetes to you. But your lifestyle or what you do can let you acquire it. So it's basically, as by its definition, non-infectious health condition which cannot spread among people. Basically, that is the common definition, but we'll come to know other definitions. And these are chronic disorders that happen to due to combination of variety of factors, such as the environment you find yourself, physiologically how you are composed of, and also your genetic composition also prone you to developing it, and also behavioral. There are certain diseases that we say that they are basically they are diseases of the black, and that the other diseases that we are saying that they are diseases of the white because of their genetic composition. Yeah, and also where they find themselves. There are certain diseases that are found in the temperate region, and there are certain diseases that are found in the tropical environment where there's enough sunshine. And so the environment you find yourself, your physiological well-being, your genetic composition, and also your behavioral changes that goes on around you all contribute to you developing a non-communicable disease. And globally, it is known that WHO concerns itself solely with it because, you see, those who contribute to WHO mostly are the developed countries. And then they realized that they were taking care of the developed countries in terms of non-communicable disease more than the middle income and then the upcoming ones. Normally, I don't want to use third world. There's nothing like third world. Now we are in a global village. And so I would rather use that there's a middle and low income countries. When your pockets is splashed with money, you tend to change your lifestyle. And by changing your lifestyle, you also invite certain diseases to come into your body. And so one has to be careful. There are risk factors that prone us to developing these diseases. And basically, some of them are unhealthy diets. Unhealthy diets. We will spend time and talk about this because we have now changed the way we used to eat. We are eating differently. And by so doing, we are inviting a lot of diseases into our bodies. And so I will plead as we go through, if your lifestyle, as far as your eating habit is concerned, you have to take note of it. Unhealthy diets. Food is good, but when you prepare it in the right proportion, you will live with it. But when you prepare it in the wrong proportion, you also have the problems. And also, physical inactivity. These days, I always tell my patient, if I ask you, when they are in my consulting room, that if I ask you to walk from here to Elwak Sports Stadium, you by all means call for Uber or for Bolt. But in the olden days, our elderly people would tell, Bomukwai, you pass here and then you are. And where is the car? They don't even think about car. They would rather find ways of how to get there. But these days, from 37 to Elwak, they will call for Uber or for Bolt or even for Trotro. And so we are not actually working to engage our body. And also, thank God, when I was preparing, I put down this and I said, hey, tobacco use. I was surprised in Germany. I gave a lecture like this to the Pentecost church. And when we closed, one of the ladies walked up to me and said, Doctor, my problem, we asked him, any jot? Yes. The lady smokes like the rat who is being fun to come out of the hole. And she confided in me, and I had to encourage her that you are destroying your lungs. So if you can come out of it. And this was a lady, not even a gentleman. I said, my problem, jot. And that's the word he used. When we say jot, you understand, smoking. Cigarettes. Yeah. So cigarettes, and also these days, there are all, when I checked the various aphrodisiacs on our markets, I was surprised. There are over 300 with all kinds of names. And our young men are abusing it left and right. So the alcohol consumption is also contributing to some of these diseases that we'll be mentioning. And then we have also come across the fact that we scarcely sleep. We always say that when you are born, you spend about 3/4 of the day sleeping. Babies. They sleep. They only wake up, then the mother will feed him, and then he goes back to sleep. Then as you age, you get to say, I will not give all the various stages, but you get to say your teens. You sleep half of the day, and then half you are very active doing things. And then in your adulthood, you sleep 8 hours, and then you stay awake 2/4 of the day. That is 16 hours. But unfortunately, these days, the 8 hours, we are not getting it. And I'm a corporate. I get home around 9:30. By the time I'm going to bed, it's about almost 11. By 4, I'm up. Constant, whether it's a weekend or it's a holiday or whatever. Constant, by 4, I'm up. So if you don't get time in between to rest, you see, when we were in the secondary school, they will force you siesta. It's a very helpful habit that they inculcated in us. But these days, where are you going to have the siesta? You are working. And so we need to adjust our lives and find time to sleep. These are all key factors driving the rise of. Yeah, I wanted that tree over there. It didn't come clear. But the tree top are the fruits of what we call the non-communicable diseases. And down there are the risk factors that are feeding the tree to get it. So if you look at it, your physical inactivity, alcohol abuse, tobacco, unhealthy diet, and all of those. So the risk factors are down there. And they will feed into the tree, and the tree will produce the forms of the non-communicable disease such as cancer and so on. Okay, please. Now, the first I want to talk about is cardiovascular diseases. When we say cardiovascular, cardio is got to do with the heart. So this is your heart. This is your heart. It's the pumping machine of your body. And when it pumps, the blood has to flow through vessels. So the vessels are what you call the vascular. So when we say cardiovascular, don't get confused. We are only telling you that the heart and the vessels. Please, you get it? Okay. So the cardiovascular diseases, oh fine, he has highlighted it for you. So what you couldn't see, that is what I was trying to talk about. That the heart diseases and stroke, diabetes, cancer, chronic lung disease, and other non-communicable diseases. So these down there are the risk factors that will prone you. Okay, so let's go back to our cardiovascular diseases. Thank you, fellas. Yeah. Cardiovascular diseases, diabetes mellitus, and then cancers, and then respiratory tract diseases or respiratory diseases. These 4 are the main major non-communicable diseases, but we will come across others, and you will see that the others are also on the rise. So I'll pick them one after the other. I'll pick cardiovascular, diabetes, and then I'll pick the cancers, and also come to the rest. So cardiovascular diseases. What you find down there, you have the heart and the vessels. That symbol of a ribbon that has been crossed is used to signify cancer. So if you see in October, the ladies will cross it in a pink form as breast cancer awareness. So the other forms of cancer are normally, we use that to depict it. Then the next one is the lung, from your throat to the lungs, the respiratory diseases. And then the last one is the diabetes, where your finger is pricked to check for the blood sugar levels in the blood. Okay, so stroke, hypertension, heart attacks, peripheral artery disease, coronary artery disease, DVT is deep vein thrombosis, and then congenital heart diseases. Stay here. These diseases are on ascendancy, and I will explain them one after the other. Stroke. Stroke is basically less blood reaching your brain, and therefore having part of your body being affected. It comes in two forms, either by a bleed, where a vessel that has to supply a particular side of the brain ruptures. So the blood is rather leaking outside the vessel, so it doesn't reach the brain, and then you get stroke. On the other hand, the vessel is intact, but you have a clot that blocks it, and so the blood cannot flow. So these are the two types of stroke, either a clot or a bleed. And stroke, when we were even in medical school as far back as 1989, when I entered medical school, stroke was found in the elderly. From 50 upwards, that was when people begin to have their vessels becoming hardened, and therefore the heart has to pump blood against resistance, and therefore the blood pressure. Those who did physics, Dr. Pasakata is here. If you have a hose and you have a tap, you have connected it and you open the tap, pressure is generated from the tap. It passes through the hole. The moment you close the end or the tip of the hose, the water spill over. So when the diameter of the vessel is reduced, the pressure increases. So when we say that you have atherosclerosis or you have cholesterol in high levels, they deposit gradually in the vessel, and by so doing they close the lumen, and then it increases your blood pressure. And that was for the elderly. But these days, as low as even 19 years, I've seen a 19-year-old boy who has hypertension. And I've seen a 29-year-old who came to 37 with a stroke. Ghana, it was Ghana Blasters playing one of the teams, and Ghana lost. And a young boy, 29, his BP just shot up, and he came with frank stroke. So hypertension and stroke are related. Yeah, so if you don't check your blood pressure well, and the pressure increases above the normal, it will rupture the vessel, and therefore it will prevent blood from reaching the vein. And then I use the word DVT, deep vein thrombosis. We have certain veins in our legs. They are deeply seated behind the bone in the leg and the calf muscle. And if you become sedentary, you are not walking and you are not doing much activity, the blood flow slows down there. And when they slow, the clotting factors begin to come together and they form clots. And when anything, perchance, either the muscles contract and push the clot into the blood, you see those veins are big. But as they come up and they get into the bloodstream, there are smaller arteries. When the clot enters there, then it blocks it. And so blood is not able to flow to those areas. That is why people tend to develop stroke. And then we also talk about heart attack. Those of you who can see well, there are some blue vessels here. And there are also red vessels. The blue is vein. The heart has to have its own blood supply, even though it is pumping blood to supply the rest of the body. But its own blood supply can also be impaired by either a clot. And when that happens, we term it as heart attack. That the heart part is devoid of blood. Unlike the brain, which results in stroke. When part of the heart is devoid of blood and there's a cutoff, then that results in heart attack. Okay, so get the meaning and some of the... and then we say peripheral artery disease. Peripheral artery is the vessels. When you are young, they are very elastic. The heart can pump blood at a high pressure. The elastic nature of the vessels will expand to accommodate it. But when you are growing, because of your diet and the eating of so much oil, you tend to develop high cholesterol levels, and they form plaques in the vessels, and they lead to these peripheral artery diseases. Unlike the olden days where the elderly, by nature of old age, will make the vessels become a bit stiff. But this time around is by the way you live your life and the the position of this cholesterol in your vessel. When Crestor and atorvastatin came to the scene, it was for the elderly. But these days, 25 years, 30 years are all taking Crestor atorvastatin. But if you are active and you are running around, you will burn down these fats so that you will not need to waste money. And they are very expensive. Please, the drugs I mentioned, they are for cholesterol control. So don't worry if you don't get it. Yeah, so you don't have to waste your money. And then coronary artery disease. When the artery that supply the heart also gets blocked, then that also leads to these diseases. As for DVT, I've said it, deep vein thrombosis, the clot in the deep veins is what we call the DVT. And then all of a sudden, the children that are being born have been found to develop congenital heart problems. When we were studying medicine, it was seldom that you come across tetralogy of Fallot and those heart disease, hole in heart. But these days it's becoming very common. And my own friend, who happened to be a professor in pathology at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, he did one of his research in these mining areas. And he realized that most of the women are giving birth to children with deformities, either externally or internally. And he came across with his publication, and he was pestered left and right. He's now relocated to Canada, because some people think that by coming up with these figures, you are destroying our business. And it came from high-level governmental institutions and people in government. And this galamsey that we think people are becoming rich through looking for gold, it is going to affect us one way or the other. And so we need to be very careful. They can increase the non-communicable diseases in our country. And if you are not careful, it will affect us. So enough with cardiovascular diseases. Let's go to diabetes. Diabetes, when we started medical school, we knew that it was either type 1 or type 2. The type 1 is the early onset, and type 2 is the late onset. And even the late onset, it was found in people who allowed themselves to grow bigger, obese people. But these days, the late onset can affect anybody at all because of your lifestyle, the way you eat. The late onset means that it is not insulin dependent, or the type 2 is not insulin. That is what we give the metformin and the Darnell and those ones. But the type 1 are the early onset the child is born with. And so when you find it, you cannot give the child metformin and those ones, so you have to find insulin to replace. And that is where some people are born, and throughout their life, it is insulin that is given to the patient or the child throughout to survive. So the type 1 is the insulin dependent, the type 2 is the non-insulin dependent. And then we have what we call the gestational diabetes. That one is for our mothers or our sisters who become pregnant. Previously, it was the obese people who were getting gestational diabetes through pregnancy. But these days, it has also become so common that our mothers or our sisters go to the antenatal, and by testing their blood for diabetes, a lot are found to have diabetes. And it's all as a result of the way we are considering our lifestyle. Okay, so the next slide, please. Cancers. Cancers used to be in the elderly. But these days, from childhood to the elderly, it has become so common. So common. And indeed, any part of your body can be affected with cancer, depending on what you feed your body with. And so, when we talk of cancers, the skin can have skin cancer. The whites come to our environment here. And because the temperature, the sun doesn't shine like the way it shines here. So the UV light part of the sun rays doesn't get to them. But when you are here, you get it. But thank God, we are living here because we have adapted ourselves here because of the melanin that we have in our skin. So when the UV light even hits us, we don't get problem with it to get cancers. But when the white person comes here and they stay in the sun to bath or to sun bathing, their body begins to become brown. But even then, you realize that every time they come, they use the creams to tone or to reduce the radiations of the sun that gets into their body. So skin cancer is also on the increase. Ovarian cancer is also on the increase. And for the men, I think last 2 years, we spent time treating prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is also on the increase. And also lung cancer. For those who, it's not only for those who smoke, but those who are working in environment where there is too much dust particles. Asbestos, one of the particles. And unfortunately, we are still using asbestos in Ghana. Yes, there is a factory near when you are going to where La General Hospital used to be. There's a factory there that is still producing asbestos. Asbestos has to be eradicated from, because the dust particles, when you inhale it and it gets into the lungs, it changes your body's the lungs tissue, and you can easily get cancer. Even if I don't know if the authorities have stopped them. If they have not, all the houses, the Naniba estate and all those, the roof that they have are asbestos roof. And as weathering, as weathering affected, some are just dropping gradually. We need to change all these things. And if you're also working in the mine area where you blast the rocks, the dust has nowhere to go. And you are inside the tunnel or the pit. You inhale all these things and you tend to get lung cancer. So it's not only the smoke from tobacco or the nicotine that causes the lung cancers. And then breast cancer is also very common these days. And then bladder cancer, those who work with dye, the aniline dye, those who do tie and dye. That is why we tell you that wear your gloves. Don't use your bare hands to touch the dye. Because you use it and then you go and pick food and eat. And all the dye will get into the body and settle in the bladder. And before long, you are getting bladder cancer. So we always advise that if you are somebody who is into the tie and dye business, make sure that you protect yourself. And then stomach cancer has also become very common, especially men. Has become common in men. Those who drink the alcohol. It actually burns your stomach wall, and gradually people are getting stomach cancer commonly. And also leukemia, cancers of the blood, lymphoma, leukemia is also on the increase. And also cervical cancer, very common. And now it is colon. In Africa, colon cancer was unheard of. And then all of a sudden, we stopped eating our fiber-rich diet. And now we are now eating refined food. And the refined food stays longer in our gut. And the bacteria feed on it and give their toxins. And their toxins end up changing the cell tissues of your colon. And before long, a lot of people are now developing colon cancer. So let us be careful with our diets. Respiratory diseases. The commonest is asthma. Asthma is very, very common. And you find a child who has been born and has asthma. Asthma is basically an allergy, which you get, and it gets your lung, alveoli, and the bronchus blocked. And you are denied or devoid of oxygen. And you tend to pant for air. And that is what asthma actually is about. So asthma is very common. Allergic rhinitis from the fumes from car exhaust are one of the commonest cause for allergic rhinitis. In Europe, it's more of the pollens. When winter comes over and the spring and the trees begin to shoot, the pollens in the air trigger a lot of allergic rhinitis. And that is why in Europe these days, they don't allow certain cars to even come in the urban area, the city centers. Because you come and pollute the little oxygen there, and people are going to suffer. So they don't allow them. And then pulmonary hypertension. Actually, pulmonary hypertension should come under cardiovascular, but because it is happening in the lungs, that is why we have put it here, so that you will know some of the things that you need to do to prevent yourself. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or others call it chronic obstructive airway disease. They are all things that your body comes in contact with, the things in the environment, and gradually you begin to develop these diseases. And then occupational lung diseases, as I said, those who work in the mines, asbestos area, or silicon producing products. The next one, please. Okay. This word, obesity. Obesity was not quite common here. In fact, if you go to our villages, the elderly, they were very slim, and they were nothing like fat. I remember my own grandmother. She would go and buy the emane, the fish, the dry one, and she would peel off the skin and open and take the bones inside, everything very, very dry. But these days look at the tilapia we are eating. Tilapia Kobe, the original apatre or the Kobe that we know, is not what we are now eating. They are feeding it with hormones. You go to the Volta Lake, the Chinese have cells, and then they put in all these things, and that is what we are now eating. Because we will not get the good old Kobe fish. Yeah, so they are just giving the fish so many things. So obesity has become a problem. You see, the obesity is not just you being fat or putting on, but what obesity brings to the body is what is our concern. So if you look at the one there, the one that has words inside, you can find all the diseases I've mentioned in that person. Diabetes is there, cholesterol level increase is there, cardiovascular diseases are there, because you put on excess fat. If you look at the blue one, there is a slim body within that body, and that is the original size of the person. But the excess fat has made the person this way. Actually, we are supposed to see the bones in that particular picture, and you see that the bones correspond to that pink-like color there, and the rest that you see there are all excess fat that the person gets. So obesity is also as a result of the way we eat. We are eating anything, and we need to be very careful. Please go to the next slide. When we say others, the others are many. The others are many, but I've listed these few. Rheumatoid arthritis is a disease that affects the small joints. We have osteoarthritis. That one is disease that affects the bigger joints or the bones. But the rheumatoid arthritis affects the small joints, and sometimes they make your fingers crooked. And not only the fingers, it also affects the other joints, but mostly is the small joints of the body, the foot, toes, and also the hands. Then chronic kidney disease. I'm not against herbal medicine, but the rate at which we are consuming herbal medicines in this country, it is giving us a headache in the orthodox setting. A lot of people are coming with kidney failure as a result of the effect of these herbal preparations that we are giving our people. So we have drawn the attention of Ministry of Health that you have prevented the orthodox people from advertising. Why have you given the herbal people the right to left and right advertise? And you see, human beings, the more you see something, the more you are influenced. And people will think that that is what will save the person. Me. Because he comes to the orthodox, you are going to do some procedure and you are charging in thousands. The herbal people will say, oh, bring 100 or go and bring a fowl. He thinks that it's not costing him much. But in the end, you are getting yourself into developing this non-communicable disease. And then mental health conditions. These days, the mental problem, and it's explainable. In the rural areas, they were living communally. So if Kojo Mensah and the wife gave birth to Akosua, and Kwabna and Ekuya gave birth to Kojo, the community helped in raising the child. But the child leaves the village and comes to city. Where even to put the head? He hasn't got it. So he ends up on the street. And so his mental frame up, there are no parents to guide him. So mental challenges and mental health issues are now all over. I've always been saying this. Ope Beer House, I operated on a Tuesday, closed around 10. And then got to Ope Beer, the traffic was red. So I stopped. This boy of about 13 years came to me, asked for money, and I waved that I don't have. The guy just kicked my car. Yes, why have you denied me money? As if I am there to. You see, because if you had grown in the village, people would have corrected that we don't do that. But unfortunately, in the city, who are you to go and tell him? He thinks he has a right. And these are some of the things that is bringing about mental health. And then osteoporosis. Osteoporosis, for those of us who are living in the tropics, it was not a problem for us. Because the sun, when it falls on you, you have what we call cholecalciferol, which the sun will convert to vitamin D. And the vitamin D will be incorporated in your body. And we had healthy bones. But these days, we don't even stay in the sun. You leave your house into your car. Air condition. You go to your office, you walk just a short distance into your office, air condition. You hardly even come in contact with the sun. And so our bones are becoming weaker and weaker. And you get 50 and then your bones, the slightest force and your bones are breaking. Osteoporosis is lack of calcium in the body. And the body has the highest, richest store of calcium in the bones. And the body needs this calcium to help the heart to contract, help the muscles to contract. And I need calcium and I'm not getting it. Where do you think I should pick it? I'll pick it from my store. And so as they pick the calcium, it leaves holes. That is basically what we call osteoporosis. That the bone has become porous. Osteo is referred to bone. So the bone becomes porous. But it becomes worse for our ladies when they turn 50 and above, because the estrogen that helps them to absorb calcium from the intestines is lowered or is not there. And so you tend to, that is why we give you supplement of Osteocare or the other drugs just to help you maintain your calcium level. It's not so with men, but these days it's also gradually coming up, and we need to be very careful. Neurodegenerative diseases, they are all brain cells that were not commonly seen. And then cataracts. I came across blindness as a major non-communicable disease problem these days in our world. You know why? We are consuming sugar. And the sugar is converted to sorbitol. And the sorbitol deposits in the lens of your eye. And so you tend to have a block of the eye. And so majority of people are becoming blind because of what we eat. Yeah. Please go on to the next one. Okay. How can we prevent it? So if you are smoking, I will advise you to stop smoking. Like I told the lady who took my advice and she has gotten herself out of it. And now look at the picture down there. I said unhealthy diet is what risk factor to developing non-communicable diseases. But when you have a diet that is healthy, you prevent some of these diseases because you lower the cholesterol level and you lower the other things that are not good for the body. And then you see the wife and the husband, they are climbing steps. We need to take to some form of exercises. It is good for the body. Paul told Timothy, bodily exercise profited a little. But that little is good for you. So don't throw it away. Spend time and go for it. And then if you are drinking alcohol or you are being introduced, just put a stop. No, I don't like it. Stay away from it. And it will prevent you from developing a lot of... and then the healthy eating pyramid. Eat more of the vegetables and more of the fruits, less of the carbohydrates and less of the fat and oil. You should cut down on fat and oil. And fat and oil, we get it from, you see, the wise came to tell us that canola is the best fat for us. But it's not true. The good old coconut oil, palm oil, and then the groundnut oil that we grew up with help maintain who we are today. But unfortunately, now if you go to the market, do you even come across groundnut oil? The other day I asked the lady, it's been a long time since I saw one. She looked and said, at Mintombi. Yeah, so we are not even producing it. And meanwhile, it's one of the best things for us. So this is the things that we need to be going in for. Unfortunately, fruits are expensive, but they come in season. I have a friend who told me that God in his wisdom allows certain fruits to come in season. And he tells me that his friend tells him that when they come in season, it means that stop whatever you're doing and eat more of that. So if I saw, if it would not be the fasting that we are fasting, when I was this evening, I saw a lady selling boiled corn, the corn. All of a sudden, I just had the edge, but I say I'm fasting, so yeah. But this is the time for the corn season. Go in and whether the roasted or the cooked one, eat it. Mango has come. Eat more mangoes. Anything that comes in season, don't let it go without you going in for it. Avocado, eat it more. I didn't even know the price of pawpaw had become so expensive. Meanwhile, pawpaw was one of the cheapest things. Watermelon. Eat any of these fruits and it will help you. Reduce the major modifying risk factors, which are tobacco use, alcohol, go on, harmful alcohol, or there's nothing like useful alcohol. They are all alcohol. So refrain yourself from it. Unhealthy diet, and then physical inability. Engage yourself and do some activity that will help you. But I'll come to the lifestyle. So I think the last one should be. Okay, and then the government too should help, because we saw that the more population increases, the less are health facilities. So the government should have policies that will help increase the health facility for the population so that we can reach to these things. And then the lifestyle. You see, lifestyle makes you who you are. Why some people will not eat certain food and others will eat certain food. You have chosen that this is my own life. These days, our children, if you go to the market with them and you don't buy Indomie, it means you have not satisfied them. But meanwhile, you know that the Indomie that they are producing is basically flour and egg. And then these spices that have been mixed. But if they get their plantain and their nkontomire, it is far richer and helpful for their body than this. One example that I've come across is, Thailand produce the highest rice in the world. Vietnam and Thailand. So the same piece of land, they want to produce it, so they will plant here. In 3 months' time, they are harvesting. If they go and plant there again, do you think they will get the same yield? They will not, so they will spread it with fertilizer. And then it will give them the same quantity. Then they will harvest. They will not eat because they have markets. Then they will transport it and then they will plant another one. So the land will produce 4 times its kind. All chemicals. Because our lifestyle in Ghana is that we have done away with what we had and we are now importing things that are not supposed to be here. We are eating rice more than even the maize we grow here. I was told that now we are exporting our maize more than what we, apart from, thank God, let's praise our people for making sure that the kenke, the maize is used for our kenke, so it stays here. It's good for us. You see, you are who you are by what you eat. So if you don't change your diet, most of these diseases will overwhelm you. And by the time you are aware, you are developing them. I'll have to end here so that you will give me your questions and then I'll be able to answer you quite well. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the floor is open for questions. We'll expect 10 questions from the house. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll locate you. It could be contributions, suggestions.
Thank you. Doc, please, can you define for us what a cancer is?
Cancer is, we are made up of building units, or like this house, we have blocks that makes it, to make it complete. And God, in his wisdom, has put in the body that when cells are multiplying, when they come together, once the cells touch, we call it contact inhibition. That contact prevents the cell from overgrowing, so that it will tell itself that, oh, I have had enough of my kind, so I should stop. And that instinct is inbuilt within the cell. But cancer is when that cell and that property is taken over by a change in the genome. Genome means the DNA of the system. When that is changed, then when the cells come together, that instinct, which would have told the cell that you have come in contact, so you have produced of your kind, stop, it's no longer there. So it's keep on producing, and then it ends up in tumor. Tumor means swelling. It ends up in swelling, and then that brings about cancer. And there are a lot of factors that bring about it. It can be this benzene. Just yesterday, I saw that the black sisters in America are fighting the companies that make wig because they spray it with benzene. And the benzene is number one form of cancer. And it's intentional. Not that they are using the benzene. They just want to reduce the population. And let me tell you, it's not conspiracy theory. People are all out to reduce the population of the world. And whatever they can do, they will do it. Either through GMO food, through instigating war, through even giving the immunization they are now giving our children. They've laced it with properties that will cause infertility, so that you will not be able to give birth. So in all kinds of ways, they are doing it in the water we drink. We used to have chlorine to purify our water. Now all of a sudden they say that the company in Norway has come with fluoride and other things. But fluoride is a cause of cancer in our body. And that's what we are going in for. So cancer basically is a change in the genome of a particular cell which prevents it from stopping its growth but keep on growing. Yeah.
Yeah, Doc. My question is about when is the best time to eat fruits? Some say it's before meal. Others say it's after meal. So when is the best time?
You see, some people have done research and they think that it's like when the SDA came up with the issue of when you are eating, don't drink water. And somebody said, oh, this is your, and it's in their doctrinal lesson that you don't drink water when eating. And somebody said that they should come to Africa and eat oto. When you are eating the oto and you see whether you see, some people have done research and they think that the acidic nature of the stomach is high at certain point in time of the day. And so some of the fruits are alkaline, others are acidic. But for me, you can eat fruit at any time. You can eat fruit at any time. But what they normally say is that preferably on an empty stomach, so that when you have already filled the stomach and you eat it, then the movement along the gut is increased. So they will go through and then it become feces. So you will not benefit from it. So if you eat it on an empty stomach, then you can get the nutrients that you need from the fruit. There is no set time that Chinchina go and eat it this time, please. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
Okay.
There is another question for you.
Pastor, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Please, I want to know what causes stomach cancer and then how to prevent
Stomach.
Yes. Thank you.
Stomach cancer is caused by so many things. It can be the spices we eat. It can be the alcohol I mentioned. And also, when you develop ulcer and you don't treat it, the acidic nature of it can change the cells of the stomach cells and gradually also change into becoming cancer. So it can be the spices that we are eating. And indeed, glutamate, which is found in Maggi cube, and this cube that we sprinkle on our bodies, our mothers and our sisters, be careful. Our mothers, good old mothers, used to prepare their own spices. If you can go and buy the ingredients yourself and prepare, it's better than relying on this, that because he wants his money. So he will add so many things that will be palatable and tasteful in your mouth. But by so doing, he's also lacing it with the glutamic acid. So the glutamic acid is also known to cause stomach cancer. So we should be careful what we eat. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Doctor, my question is about alcohol, with the consumption of it and then its adverse effects on us. My question is, are there some foods that end up poisoning us just like alcohol? Because you might not be directly drinking alcohol, but there are some foods that you eat that end up like you drinking alcohol. Thank you.
Okay. When we were in the secondary schools, kenke. If you leave the kenke, you go to dining hall, there you get your kenke, you come and put in your chop box for 3 days. And it's fermented, and people say that you get alcohol. To tell you the truth, the alcohol you get from it is insignificant. It's not to that level that will harm you. Fruits, I would say that those that ferment, especially banana and co, when these days they use carbide to ripen it. But previously, you go and put it somewhere and cover it with some sacks, and it will ripe in its natural, but they would rather put carbide and put water, and the heat from the carbide will just ripen it. And that is also not good. So I would say that fruits that will end up becoming fermented, that is what I would say that be careful. But even if you get it fresh and you eat it, the fermentation is negligible. And the fructose in the fruit is far better than when it is converted to the glucose. Yeah. Most fruit contain high percentage of fructose, and that is far better for your body. Yeah.
Doc, another question?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Doc, for insightful presentation. Please, can you throw a bit more light on how stress in our body leads to some of these diseases? Thank you.
Stress in itself is not a disease, but it can lead to some of these things. Because when you are stressful, you increase the hormone level of your body, and the effect of the hormone is what brings about. It's like, as we are here, if a snake drops here, you see, under normal circumstances, you will not be able to run 100 meters. But you'll be able to run 100 meters to that end than anybody. Why? Because you face stressful environment. And what enables you to run that race is your adrenaline. That the body secreted more in the body just by that stress. So the stress will cause you to produce certain hormones. And the effect of the hormones is what brings about the sicknesses that we go through. So what we normally say is that everybody the world over has a problem one way or the other. Don't get yourself overwhelmed with what you are faced with. Because if you concentrate on it, all your energy is zeroed in on that. But there are other factors that are calling for your attention. By the time you solve that problem and you turn, you are overwhelmed with bigger problem than what you concentrated on. So allow yourself to relax in the face of difficulty, and gradually you will go through. We all face stress, whether we like it or not. And we go through it daily. But know how to manage it. Know how to manage it. In fact, this evening, when I was coming, I packed these things from the private hospital I go to do the locum. And then I asked my nurse to put this in the polythene bag for me. She only put these two and left this. Because I was coming to use this to teach the hat. And meanwhile, where is the hat? I could have thrown tantrums. I only called the Rita, where are you? You left the hat that time. I said, doctor, I thought you didn't need it. Meanwhile, so I have packed this tray down. So what do? You just calm down. And then I had to stay 30 minutes at Nabita, waiting for her to come from Port Clinic with this. So your 30 minutes of your time wasted. You just have to control yourself. Otherwise, it will rather shoot your BP. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. So you mentioned, I think some years ago, you discussed the prostrate thing. Yeah. But for the benefit of us, those of us that were not available, if you can throw some more lights on that for us. Thank you.
Okay. Prostate is only for men. Women don't have prostate gland. And the prostate gland produces certain secretions to help your sperm flow well. When you turn 40, the prostate begins to enlarge. And so we have something we call in our body PSA, prostate specific antigen. It is running throughout your body. And it has a range when we measure it, 0 to 4 nanogram per deciliter. And so we use this to monitor whether your prostate gland is becoming cancerous. When the figure you get exceeds 4, then you have to see a urologist to examine your prostate gland, normally from behind, to see its consistency, the smoothness, and other things that he will find. And based on that, he will tell, there's nothing wrong. It's just a normal enlargement, and you should just calm down. So that is what we use as men to determine it. And it's going to take us a long period if I'm to start from the causes. But at least for now, I will just say that always from 20 years and above, do your PSA as a baseline. And when you are at 40, every year, do your PSA. And that will help you so that you know how to monitor your prostate. It's like we tell the ladies, examine your breast. Breast cancer, unfortunately for them, there's nothing like do this test to know that your cancer is, except for mammogram. But even mammogram is still radiation. So we advise them when you are at 40 and above, less than 40, we don't encourage mammography because the radiation can also cause a different situation in the body. But for you as a man, the prostate-specific antigen in your serum is enough. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. There's another one.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Please, I have 2 questions.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I want to know if stroke is a genetic disease. And then secondly, if someone is having stroke, apart from the person taking drugs that is being given to the person, what are some of the things the person can do to help the person recover very fast? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stroke is not genetic. Like I said, this is non-communicable diseases. It's not genetic. However, if your 2 parents have hypertension, there is a 50% chance that in your life you will have hypertension. But you can choose by your lifestyle to avoid having hypertension. So in a way, we are saying that your parents can have effect on your development of hypertension, but your lifestyle can also help you take yourself out of that. So it's the same as with stroke. Like I said, there are 2 types, the clotting one and also the bleeding one. The bleeding one is when your BP is not well controlled and the heart keep pumping blood, then it ruptures the small vessels. Or like our brother says, stress. You are stressing yourself and indeed, that scenario I gave, the snake dropping here, if your BP, by the time you reach there, if your BP is checked, everybody checking it the first time will think that you are hypertensive because your BP will shoot skyrocketing. Yeah, but it doesn't mean you have hypertension. So if you're always under stress and such stressful condition happens, it can increase your blood pressure, and then your small vessels can get torn in the brain, and that will bring about stroke. If you are sedentary, you are not walking, you develop the deep vein thrombosis, the plaque comes and then lodge in your brain and prevent blood from going. And then also, what can one do to help? I have seen people who have, we have two forms of presentation. We call it TIA, transient ischemic attack. That one, people recover from it fast. And then we have the long chronic one, that one, they don't. So one side is, and they are always walking with the leg drooping, because the nervous system on that side is all down. And what we can do best to help such people is physiotherapy, and then the monitoring of the blood pressure, that it doesn't go up again. And then the person takes himself from any stressful environment that will aggravate. I've seen people who have had stroke and they have had it again. He's sitting by his television watching a program, and he gets so agitated, and before long, he's down again. So he should take himself from all such stressful environment, and he will recover quite fast.
Okay, thank you, Doc. The last question. Is DVT curable? What is the survival rate? And for those who drive for long hours, sit for long hours, what are the best office practices we can adopt? Thank you.
That is a very good question. Thank you. DVT is the deep vein thrombosis I was talking about. When you stay at one place for long without moving, I told you this is the heart of your body. And as you sit here, your heart is about the size of your fist. If you clench a fist, that is about the size of your heart. And so the heart main function is to pump blood out of the system to supply. We have something we call accessory heart. Accessory heart. Accessory heart are your muscles. As you walk around, the moment the muscle contracts, all the vessels in the muscle are squeezed, so blood comes out. And then when they relax, blood comes in. So that's why we say that walk around. As you walk, you pump blood out of the lower part. You see, we are binary, two-legged people. Gravity pushes your blood down. So you will need the heart to pump against resistance to bring the blood up. But as you move, you help the heart by pumping the blood back to the heart. And that have less stress or work for the heart. And that is very good. So deep vein thrombosis is when you have become sedentary, like maybe you have been admitted to the hospital and you are lying in bed without moving, unconscious patient. That is why even in unconscious state, we still let the physiotherapy come and exercise your body. Otherwise, the blood will stay there and develop the deep vein thrombosis. It is treatable. There are drugs that you give, heparin, helps to dissolve the clot at high doses. But the more you give heparin, the more you thin the blood. And when you thin it, if you are not careful, the person has a cut. The person can also bleed severely, especially our ladies when they are having their menses. They bleed a lot when they are on the heparin products or derivatives. These days, there are newer drugs that are coming that are a bit cheaper and equally good. So it helps with it. The success rate depends on the person's ability to get up and walk around. If we treat you and then you go back to the same good old life you are living, then it will happen. And then asking that question brings to mind, you see, when swivel chair came, it came to help the CEOs. Perfect. He sits at one place, he just squeezes himself, and then he opens the cabinet, he pays it. He squeezes himself, come back. And we realized that within 3 years, about 8 CEOs in the US died just like that. And so what the lesson we learned from it was that in your office, don't put your fridge by yourself. Put the fridge at a far end so that you will get up to go and pick water. Your cabinet for the fast should be far away so that you get up and go and bring it. Otherwise, if you surround yourself with all, you sit and then you don't move at all. And that brings about the development of the deep vein thrombosis. And also even the mobile phone. You go see you. One phone is here, the other one is here, and talking conference call. Until these days, we had this technology where you can use WhatsApp call and then or other forms. Yeah, but those days it was only the other person has to call on another phone before you can connect. And these are some of the things that we came across that sedentary life will always prone you to developing a disease that is preventable.
Okay, thank you so much. Our last question for the evening.
Pastor, I want to ask another question concerning breast cancer. Why I ask was my mom and my elder sister, they die of cancer. So at times he worries me so much. So I want to know what can prevent you not to get breast cancer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, cancer is very rampant, like I said. And there are certain forms of cancer, when your relative have it, you need to screen the members of the family, especially in the female line. Breast cancer, there are certain tests that you can do. We call it BRCA1, BRCA2. There is a specific DNA that are found within the body. If the BRCA1, BRCA2 is negative in you, then it means that you don't stand to some greater extent the chance of you getting a breast cancer. But if it's positive, then it means that you have to be very, very careful and examine your breast and also let others help you so that the moment they see any lesion, you don't take it for granted and then it is excised from the body. So you can go and see a general surgeon and he will do some of these tests. But I must tell you, they are very expensive tests. But at least it's worth doing it and getting your status than you not doing it.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. This is an insightful presentation. It is a timely reminder of how we owe our body a duty of care. Question from Facebook. So, Doc, there's a question for you from Facebook. It reads, please, my question is, why do men drink whiskey from the age of 50 onwards? How does that affect their health medically?
I saw it. The lifestyle of the rich. Yeah. One of the things that one of my gynecological professors told us was in the medical school, that when people want to convince ladies that don't stay virgin, give yourself to a man, he will tell you, go to the Catholic sisters. Some, they have become a nun and nothing has happened to them. So if they tell you that if you don't have sex, you will become two-legged or Jimmy, forget it. It is never true. So it's like the question that the person is asking us. Drinking of alcohol per se, for me, I have not taken alcohol before. So I will recommend I don't take it. But if you do take it, then that one, I don't know the consequences. But if you take, you say alcohol is it's like a drug. It has an effect on the body. You take it the first time, you get a euphoric feeling. And if you want to get the same feeling that you had the first time, if you don't top it, you will not get that feeling. And that's how people gradually start with a quarter, and then by the time you are aware, a full bottle is drunk, and they still don't even feel push. Yes. So I wouldn't say if you drink, it will give you in a different state, and if you don't drink, it will give you a different state. But for me, I would say that it's up to the person, because I know of some Christians who drink. I'm not judged to go and tell you that don't drink, but I'll tell you about the effect. there was this boy that, let me say this totally. There was this boy and the father did the experiment with him. He took 2 worms from the soil and put alcohol and put one in water. And then within a few minutes, the one in the alcohol died. So the father asked the boy, "What have you learned?" He said, "Oh, Daddy, I've now learned that when you drink alcohol, you will not get worms in your stomach."
It makes sense. They went to that. Yeah. Can we give it out to Doc? Okay. Thank you so much, Doc. So, okay, it's offering time. Can we prepare ourselves as we give unto the Lord?
Men, we've been called to action this evening. Right. We've been called. Let's appreciate Dr. Romeo. What do we say to Dr. Romeo? God bless you so much. So we've been called into action to prioritize our lifestyle, prioritize our health, know what to eat and what not to eat, and know what to drink, what not to drink, to exercise more and to stay away from certain kind of lifestyle. In fact, I was hoping to hear red. Doc, but I didn't hear anything about red. The youth of today, part 2, okay. The youth of today, we see on social media are taking red a lot. And you see them in slow-mo like that over time, which is really impacting them negatively. So God bless you so much. Shall we please take note of the following announcement? So we want to highlight the activities left for the week. Today, we were blessed by this health talk. And tomorrow, we are also meeting for a virtual summit. And it is dubbed the Fathers Coaching and Mentoring Role today. As fathers, we have important and critical roles to play as leaders of the home. And it's important that we partake in this session so that we know how to coach and mentor our family in order to be Christ-like and live the right virtues of life. Amen. The time will be 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. and it is virtual. The virtual links will be posted on the various platforms. Let's do well to join and also share with our friends and family to be part of this blessing. On Friday, we have a night of worship with Minister Chris Appel, Edwin Akrofi, and Prince Pinaman, and many more worship leaders. We will be blessed by being part of this. As we come in thanksgiving, we come in worship and also appreciate God for his goodness in our lives. Amen. Then we'll be crowning this on our Father's Day celebration. That is on Sunday for both services. At 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock a.m. for first service. And we start 10 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. for the second service. We will have our normal wisdom hour session in between. In view of this, we are encouraging all men to come in white. It is our day. We need to come in thanksgiving unto the Lord. Let's do well to come in white. If we don't have a full white, at least come in a touch of white, so that we can all together get involved and be a blessing. Amen. The Men of Integrity also have a singing ministry. On Sunday, we'll be ministering powerfully. If you haven't yet joined, in fact, I'm going to lead the team. If you haven't yet joined, please do well. We need members, okay? So if you are here, a man, please, we have about 2 meetings left to minister on Sunday. Please wait behind or see any of the leaders of the Men of Integrity be part of this blessing. And lastly, our 30 days of fresh oil. Today marks the 11th, right? How many of us have been participating? Yes, if you haven't yet participated, it's not too late. You can still join us. As today marks the 11th, we continue from tomorrow, day 12, till the time we hit day 30. And in view of that, we'll be meeting for our virtual online prayer meeting tomorrow as well, at 6 to 7. Okay, so we are, yes. Are we? Please, can you confirm? Okay, so it means that we are not doing that, and that will be replaced. So 6 to 7 prayer, and then we continue with the event from 7 to 9. So that is the plan. Yes, please. So let's do well to participate, as the links will be shared on the various platforms. Do we have anyone visiting us for the very first time? Anyone visiting us? God bless you for coming. Let's receive our daddy, Pastor Kingsley, as he comes to give us the benediction.
Amen. Very insightful night. And the wine will always be a mocker. And the battle between the worm and the alcohol is a good lesson for all of us. Shall we be on our feet? Thank you. Let's say the grace to one another. And now may the grace and surely amen. See you tomorrow, Friday and Sunday. Thank you.